Sets up Larsson here. Larsson. Oh, he's in! Henrik Larsson! That is sensational! O'Reilly. How about that for a pass? Jota! How about that for a finish? That is Jota for you! In for Henrik Larsson. And Rodgers! His first goal for Celtic! Here is Shunsuke Nakamura! Exquisite!
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Celtic Unrestricted View. It's been a busy week with Celtic. There's been lots of different claims coming in into the club. There has been a claim today from the manager. There is no crisis at the football club. He done his interview earlier. I'm JP. Joining me in this fine Friday evenings, my good man SHAUN. Good evening, SHAUN. I hope you're well, mate.
Good evening, JP. Always a pleasure to be here, mate. Looking forward to the chat with you, and I hope all's well at your end, mate.
Yeah, everything's fine, pal. It's been as much as it's been a quick week, but I've been rather busy this week myself. So obviously tonight we've got a wee bit to get through, mate. Quite a few things to talk about. And then there is a small matter of, some people call it the real Glasgow derby. So we can, I'm sure we'll touch on that as we go, mate. Good evening to everybody as well that's tuning in across the platforms. I hope you're all well. Hope you had a good week and you are looking forward to the weekend. We'll just come through some early comments tonight. Tio Isaac, he says, good job, and then he followed it up by To the Land We Love. Now, I thought he was going to burst into that song that we all love, God Bless This Lovely Land of Mine. When I seen that comment, that's what just came into my head, SHAUN. It's easy to do because obviously the lyrics are quite similar. Celtic Maid says, evening folks. Our good man Ryan, he's in the comments tonight. He says, evening lads, hope all is well. Hopefully some players get some game time on Sunday and a comfortable win. Very interesting financial results. We will touch on that as well. I have them in front of me. Makes the window even more disappointing now to look at. And Jem in the comments as well. Evening JP, SHAUN and the chat. And James' question is, do you think Osmond will get a run out now that he's been back at training at Lennoxtown? And obviously asking that one to Ryan. Sparrow also joining us as well. A wee birdie told me you were telling fibs the other night, Sparrow. I hope that's no true. Hope you weren't sticking your beak where it wasn't wanted. But I hope you're good, pal. Pope Leo, good evening, gents. Good evening, sir. Or should we bow? I don't know if we should bow. I'm not a lassie. I'm not curtsying to you, that's for sure. Cheryl, evening, lads. Hail, hail. There's Mark in as well. Evening, JP and SHAUN. Good to see you. Good to see you too, Mark. Hope you are well. SHAUN, obviously, Celtic, no, you've not been on for a wee bit, mate. I've not had a chance to have a wee chat with you. Just getting your thoughts basically on Celtic's last league game and then obviously what's transpired off the back of that, mate.
Aye, it has been a wee while since I've been on, mate, so it is good to be back, and good evening to everybody that's listening. It was always going to be a difficult game. I do like Kettlewell. I think he's a good manager, certainly in Scotland.
Yeah.
And difficult pitch, hard team to go up against away. I thought we handled it well. I thought, we had to... I didn't feel like they threatened as much at all throughout the game. I feel like we maybe could have been a wee bit better up front, but the Tunek out on the left was a joy to watch that full game. You could have let that game run on a further 45 minutes just to watch him. He was absolutely outstanding. And real glimmer of hope, mate, and amongst all this transfer fiasco, you know, has dragged its heels for so long now. But I'm really happy with the result, mate. The penalty incident, I know that was a huge talking point for everybody in Scotland. They were even talking about it on RefWatch down south as well, I believe. And it's one of those ones, JP, if it's for you, you're going to shout for it. If it's against you, you're going to say it's never a penalty. It's just one of those ones. If it was the same up the other end, they would have been shouting for it as well. So, aye, these things are going to happen. But happy that we were on the receiving end of it, and he actually steps up. You know, when I saw Cal McGregor got up to the spot, I'm thinking, oh my God. Although, you know, he has in the past put penalties away for us comfortably, but, you know, given the cup final last season, I was like, oh, here we go. And he actually stepped up, took it comfortably, and if this guy kicks on and finds the form that he had down south, then we've got a top quality striker for free that, you know, we've been crying for replacement for Kyogo, and we could have that, and it's a free transfer, mate. So you can't argue with that business if that's how it pans out. But aye, glad we're still climbing up, getting the points on the table, and, you know, maintaining our stronghold over, you know, our closest rivals, who are doing too shabby at the moment.
No, I'm not shy. I don't shy away from stuff like that either, Sean, so don't worry about that on here, mate. We comment there for Green for go, right in there for a kill straight away. Rodgers isn't kidding nobody. Pussy and Osmond, etc., are wasting their time here. Brendan Rodgers has his favourites, and captain passback needs dropped. I didn't realise Barry Ferguson had signed for Celtic. I didn't realise he'd signed him.
For Go Radio again. I don't know what's
he signed a 4-year deal last time, so they can't pry it, so nobody can pry him away for Go Radio. He just loves going on there and arguing with wee Derek all the time. That's
a shame, because he's the exact man they need in the dugout. You know, he knows Rangers, he knows what they're all about.
Oh, aye, and his mathematician is his mathematics is absolutely bang on the money. I know about the amount of different players he had on the field at one point trying to rhyme off a formation. That was incredible.
I believe he's absolutely got a collection of suits and brogues as well that would go in there.
Aye, that was where to go. But that was part of his. That was his signing on fee. A wardrobe full of blue pinstripe suits and brown brogues. He's been at 4 weddings for left Rangers, and that's all he's wore. Aye, tremendous, man. Absolutely tremendous. But so obviously before we came on, tonight at 6:33 tonight, Sean, Celtic released their accounts, mate. I'm just going to go right in about it just now. So it's the Celtic PLC annual results for the year ending the 30th of June 2025. So summary of the results. So it comes in bullet pointed headings. So the first one is key operational items. It says winners of the SPFL Premiership and Premier Sports Cup in season 24-25, participation in the group stages of the UEFA Champions League in season 24-25, achieving 12 points, qualification for the knockout phase, playoff of the UEFA Champions League in the season 24-25, 29 home matches at Celtic Park, and in 2024, and 24 games in 25. So here comes the financial aspect of it all, and this is where it becomes a wee bit more complex for a guy like myself. So bear with me. I'm going to try my hardest at this. I'm just going to read it as I see it. So it says group revenue increased by 15.2% to 143.6 million. From the year 2024, 124.6 million. So there's a difference in that. It says operating expenses, including labour, increased by 11.1% to 117.1 million from 24 to 25, and 24 was 105.4 million. Gain on sale of player registrations of 31.5 million. From 2024, it was 6.6. Acquisition of player registrations of 38.6 million. And in 2024, it was 16.6 million. So, profit before tax of 45.7 million. From 2024, 17.8 million. Profit after tax of 33.9 million from 2024's 13.4 million. And it says here, the year end of cash net, what's in the bank basically, 77.3 million quid from 2024's 77.2. So, some interesting reading, Sean. I think obviously there is still a massive perception that, Celtic didn't, they lacked ambition in the transfer window. They never went all in for certain individuals. They never pushed the boat out. When you see numbers like that, mate, for what's happening just now in terms of the fan movement and everything else, this is probably just going to add fuel to the fire, mate.
No, you're absolutely right, JP. But if you look at it, if you try and take the emotion away from it and how we feel about that transfer window, and you look at those numbers and figures as a whole, and from a business point of view, those are remarkable numbers, mate. I would say, hearing that, we are clearly the best run club in Scotland. There's no doubt about that. Mm-hmm. One of the best run clubs in the UK as well, and I would even go as far as to say as in Europe as well. Now, for a club like Celtic to be operating like that in a market that's really, really competitive, player sales, and in a league that's not one of your most, exciting leagues to watch, for Celtic to be the club and the board to be to have us in that financial condition as a club is absolutely fantastic, mate. You can't argue with that. You can't argue with those numbers. Now, what I do understand is the fans' frustration of using that money to reinvest into the squad.
Well, Sean, just as you mentioned that, there is part of a statement. I'm not going to read it all out, but I'm just going to read a part where it says, these gains were largely reinvested into the playing squad, aligned to the club's commitment to sustained on-field success. So obviously that, the word of phrasing I would use there, actions speak louder than words, and I'm afraid you can't say that on part of your statement when that's not what was done at all, because we only invested 13 million quid. We brought in over 45. So you can't say that these gains were reinvested when it wasn't. So I don't think the club are doing themselves any favours. Sean, what's your take on that, mate? Because, that's a couple of times now they've used words of phrasing on statements from the actual initial statement came out to the fans about the aftermath of the window. On that, they were talking about UEFA regulations and this and that, and, obviously there's major fibs being told there, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm led to believe as well, mate. I'm sure I heard it just before I came on the show that they had included an apology in that statement as well. They did apologise for not making the Champions League, getting past the qualifications. I don't know if you can see that there, but they what are they measuring success on? Is it domestic? Is it progression in the Champions League? They do mention the on-field success. That to me that indicates that that they're really happy to be making money while being successful in Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think from last season coming into this season, I think all the fans had hoped to see Celtic really push on in Europe and try and build momentum and make ourselves a club that is consistently there, not just on we had to go a different route this year to get there, but it was well within my grasp and my capabilities to go and do that. I think we can all agree that we would have liked to have seen a bit more activity in the transfer window, but it's done now. We just need to move on. We do need to move on from this. It's obviously something that's going to keep coming back because the fans do feel that the reinvestment in the squad, we didn't see it this summer. That's a general consensus.
Yeah. Obviously, there was obviously targets they went after, but they never pulled off the especially the bigger ones. You go back to it, mate. I mean, the Kyogo thing. They then didn't bring someone else in. We got away with it last season because there was an emergence of Dyson Maeda's for him, and then he was able to help through the middle. But ultimately, mate, when you look at especially in the early summer, the discrepancy was still showing there because we had an Adamida, mate, that just wasn't firing. And I'm probably going to go into a limb when I say this here, but ultimately, I think he was short of confidence. But that goes hand in hand with the Celtic fans obviously giving him it tight.
Yeah.
And obviously getting on his back about things. Celtic fans believed that he wasn't doing enough and he wasn't, for me, he wasn't in a good place. He then moves on. But then we've then left Kyogo. His absence is still there lingering. We've let Adamida go, but not only that, we sell Nicholas Kuhn really early in the window. And Nicholas Kuhn is then, he's not replaced for months. So we keep, this isn't something that's just happened in this window, Sean. This is something that's happened over a period of time, mate. Martin O'Neill was on TalkSport and he says that was happening when he was there. They were letting players go and not bringing other players in.
Yeah.
Now, you could look at that and say, well, is that because we couldn't get players? Is that because players didn't want to come? Because I'm not silly, mate. I don't firmly believe players, Celtic didn't try to get players. I refuse to believe that.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're hearing snippets, mate, and that's all we get fed is snippets, and I've said this to the boys on here as well, like that when you hear Celtic going and looking for Casper Dolberg, they go early in the window to try and get him. They're then told that this is his fee, and then Celtic back away, and then they go back in with a bid humongously less than what they were told to, what would even spark a conversation between the clubs. And then the dilly-dally way is what I call it, or it seems from the outside. They don't do it. They don't push the button to then go and do the deal, because it was like they maybe 70% believed that he was the right man. If they thought he was the right man, why not just go and push the button out to get him? Because you've then allowed Ajax to come in and take him because you've delayed. So that's just one example, Sean, of the way I'm annoyed. I've said it plenty of times on here. I want to see the methods and the way that we do things and our approach to certain things changed. Whether that be scouting reports going in earlier, taking too long to see a player, to go and actually watch a player, and then the signing off in players. Because then you bring the situation on yourself like Yang, £3 million deal for Birmingham. He's then down, he does a medical. And we find out that because somebody at the club doesn't answer a phone, ultimately the deal falls through, and then they've got to then push the boat out to go and get Paddy Roberts through the door so that they're not left with someone short going into the season. So stuff like that, Sean, it really annoys me, mate. In terms of your own take with that, are you the same in that? Do you find that that's quite annoying, and the fact that we keep putting ourselves in these positions, or is it something else that's maybe annoying you?
You know, every fan wants to see players come in, mate. They want to see the signings happening. They want to, you know, get excited about players coming in. I do get that. I understand it. I want it myself. Celtic clearly have a model in place that they aren't going to just veer from. I even, you know, listening to Necky's interview and Balakwisha, you know, both of them says that, you know, they're glad that this deal basically got through. It'd been months, and, you know, so I can't sit here and tell you what goes into these conversations and these transfers, mate, and how Celtic operate into like getting deals done. It's very difficult to know. Is it because they're trying to negotiate the best deal? Is it because the other clubs, you know, demanding more than what we are willing to pay? It's just stuff we'll never know, JP, unless we're there, you know, we're in that environment and we're involved in it, which clearly none of us are not. But and plus the transfer market this year, I think all across the board was very strange. There was lots of deals falling through, clubs not signing players, and the whole Kyogo gone and replacing Kyogo. I get we should have went and got somebody. That's we did need that. It's like you said. Luckily, you know, Dies and Maeda, you know, fine form for Celtic in the end of the post-January window. But even going and replacing Kyogo is just, you know, there's fans talking about, like, you know, rightly so, that he's the best since Larsson. So it's like telling the Celtic board to go and replace Larsson. It's just not going to happen. But I do believe we should have still got somebody in. In terms of, I think clearly you can see from the revenue that we've got and the money in the bank that the board have been successful in the managing of Celtic and getting us into a financial powerhouse. You know, you see that in the numbers. But as I go back to with the success of the Champions League last year, I was hoping to see them just give Brent, even just say, like, you know, there's 20 million, go and get 2 top quality players, and we'll do our business as well. We'll get players in that we think fit our model. But it's the thing is as well, JP, like, you know, it's all very well and good saying that, you know, the board should do this, the board should do that, and you know, go and sign this one, go and sign that one, pay this much, pay that much. But, you know, they have got things right as well. We can't overlook that. You know, they have made massive income for Celtic with their model. It's really hard to. I find myself conflicted in the sense that I find it really hard to say what they're doing is wrong, because you just need to look at what they've recuperated for us, and where we sit as a club. But at the same time, I think this season was the season to go, right, let's reinvest this money. You know, let's push the boat out. But you know, we haven't. We need to move on. It could still be a hugely successful season for us. There's still loads of talent in that squad. Aye, that's where I sit with JP.
Yeah, well, that's the thing as well. But obviously, we do on the other side, mate. We've got this kind of fan movement thing now, because this current situation in the fans' eyes is just went on way too long.
Yeah.
So, in terms of the fan movement, Sean, how do you see this going in terms of, obviously the game in Sunday there, they waited till the 12th minute, obviously representing the 12th man and stuff to come into the game. So I don't think this is certainly the only way things are going, mate. This isn't certainly not going to go away anytime soon.
I would tend to agree with that, mate. I just don't know. I don't know where it ends. To be honest, I don't know what the ultimate goal in it is. What are the fans? What do they want to achieve by it?
I think they want certain members of the hierarchy out the door, mate. I think they want change.
I can listen. I can sympathise with it and I can agree with it to a certain extent. But when you look at those numbers that are getting put out, I don't know what's your thoughts on it, JP. But those numbers are reflecting a club that's been managed very, very healthily. Rightly, whether we agree with, what we're getting in and what's going out, if you only have to look at numbers to see that it works. We are financially sound, and we could be financially sound for 10, 15 years. You only need to look at across the pond what can happen if you don't run your club in the right way. They aren't the same club. They've not got the same culture. They've not got the same values, the same morals, and that can happen really, really quickly in football. That can happen within 1 season, 2 seasons. A club being run in the wrong way. So the fact that we have sustained this over a long period of time. I mean, Celtic are, we've absolutely dominated for the past 10 so years. There's even talk we could go on to another 10 in a row run. And that's so. I get it. I do get it. I mean, I'm 50-50 with it. I would. What's your thoughts on it, JP? What do you think?
In terms of myself, Sean, I do think there's certain individuals been at a football club too long. Peter Lawwell, for a great example, as much for everything he's done now, he's getting on a wee bit in age as well. So he's not a young man anymore. And I mean, I don't think I'm shy of the mark without even trying to look it up just now. If anybody knows offhand in the comments, you can let me know. But I think he's been at the club for over 30 years, mate. He's been there since Martin Hill was a manager, give or take whatever role he was in at the time. So listen, I'm not saying Peter Lawwell's bad at his job. That's not what I mean. I just think he's been there. No, any other job, they refresh things, they bring new faces, they try and refurbish it, they try and, get it going again and modernise. And that seems to be a word that's getting brought up quite a lot. I just think, Sean, that when it comes to Europe, mate, I don't think the club match the fans' ambition. I don't think so. I don't think they have the same ambition. It was only February, mate, we watched our team nearly beaten Bayern Munich in the Champions League. The fans are all like, right, here we go. We're all excited. We're all wanting to kick on again. And we have came tumbling down since then massively, mate, and losing to a team like Kairat Almaty. For me, that can't be happening. And that's a collective, as much as the two-legged ties on the manager and the players. For me, the board don't put the team on the pitch. The board don't coach the team. The board don't, and we can't say the board haven't backed Brendan. That's not what I'm meaning. But there's certain timings of deals is crucial, mate. And when you continuously leave the squad underprepared going into Champions League qualifiers, that's 7 out of the last 9 Champions League qualifiers we've failed to get to. So that's not good reading, mate. That's no. If that there was a 1.5, you could go, right, okay, maybe we'll learn for that, we'll maybe go again. But I want to see the methods changing, Sean. I want to see the way I would love to know the way they do it. I'd love to know what. And I think that's a big problem as well. There's no communication, Sean. And everybody can say, well, JP, they don't need to tell us anything. No, you're right. They don't need to tell us. There'll be certain things they can't tell us. But me personally, as an individual fan and a season book holder, all I want to know is where does your vision align? What are you looking at? What are you trying to strive for? What you want the club? Why do we have all this money in the bank and you're only paying 13 million quid a transfer window? What are we doing with that money? Where is that money going to go? What's the aspirations for the football club? Because they've opened Barrowfield. There was videos of that today. So it's not like they're hanging off to pay something for that. That's all been built. That'll cost money. And I get it. I can understand. That's probably why prices go up with things and there's inflation with things. But I want to know what their ambition is, Sean. Because from the outside looking in, mate, and you can give me your view on that, I don't think the club are matching the fans' ambition when it comes to the Europe. When it comes to the Champions League and everything else, I would love to ask somebody in the football club, do you think we're doing enough? Because time and time again, and that's probably the strongest our squad was getting into a Champions League qualifier for a long time. But for some reason, Sean, we continuously fail at that hurdle. And it's all teams that should never be beaten us, mate. And I don't want to sit here and sound entitled and stuff, but Celtic should be taking care of Kairat Almaty. They should be able to beat teams like Fenwick Varos. Especially, when you look at our wage bill alone, that's a lot bigger than these teams. And Kairat Almaty only spent £300,000 at the point of playing us in the transfer window. I think they brought in a couple of players before now the Champions League, but good question for Mark here. What are the fans' ambitions in Europe for the board to match? Good question, mate. I think the fans want to try and get to, another point. We got to the playoff last year. The question I would be asking, and I don't think this is too much, is can we go and do it again? Can we push to go one better? Brendan said it himself, Sean. Celtic aren't going to win the Champions League.
No.
But we've showed, mate, that we can go and give these teams a headache, mate. Can we continue doing it? I keep getting back to it. I watched the Club Brugge game the other night. They're a very well-polished team, mate. Me and Mark had a chat about it as well. Mark was saying, they've recruited players for the Bundesliga too, the second league in France. But the timing of their deals, mate, they had their players in before their Champions League qualifier against Rangers. They had their deals done. So their guys were in. The idea is to get the guys in and settled. Rodgers is talking about now the team are starting to... He's after the game on Sunday, mate. He's now saying, if Tenetki was in a couple of weeks ago, if Balikwisha was in a couple of weeks ago, that's the ideal, mate. The idea is to get these guys in, bed them in there pre-season, give them a couple of games, give them minutes, so they get used to the club's way of working and strategy and formation and everything else. So my idea would be to ask somebody at the club, what is the ambition and what does that look like to you guys? Because from the outside, it looks as if, you're hesitant when it comes to but I mean, if I'm wrong, shoot me down. I mean, don't get me wrong, but it just appears to me, Sean, that they're very hesitant when it comes to the point of Champions League qualifiers, and they're always waiting to see if we get there first before then they spend that wee bit more. We don't make the Champions League here, and then Balikwisha and Tenetki's brought in. He's an opportunity to bring them in before, and let's see if we can continue getting to the Champions League.
No, I do agree with that, and whether these guys would have made the difference or not, we'll never know, because we're not in the squad for these qualifiers. But
do you think they would have given us more depth, though, Sean, in terms of what we were able to bring off the bench instead of having to bring off James Forrest and Yang?
That's what I was going to say, mate. I was going to say you would rather them there than not have them there. You would rather have them there than not. Whether it would have made a difference to the tie, who knows? But yes, I agree with you, mate. If you've got them there, you've got the option to bring them on or start them, or give them 60 minutes, bring Forrest and Yang on, whatever way you want to do it. They're there. You've got that option.
Well, I've got a thought in my head, Sean, just quickly. Do you think we hit our ceiling in the Champions League last season? Because I think that's, regardless of how ambitious you want to be, I personally think that's probably where Celtic are going to be.
Yeah, and the group was really favourable for us as well. We really we got a good in towards the Champions League last year with the new format. Who knows if it would have been the same this year? But we did exceed a lot of Celtic fans' expectations as well. So, and I do agree with you. I know, to answer Mark's question, I think what Celtic fans envision for what success looks like for us in Europe is just to be consistently there at the Champions League level. Whether we progress or whether we get put out, the fans want to be in the stadium when the Champions League anthem gets played, and they want to be going to Germany away days, and that's what the fans ultimately want. They want to be in amongst the big guns. Now, if we go on a successful Europa League campaign, is anybody going to grumble at that? I don't think so. I would love to see Celtic even, do well in the Europa League. I think we could, but again, it's still a difficult competition. There is a lot of ties in there that are going to be tricky, but yeah, it's I think just to be considered. That's what, even when Ange was here, that's what he used to go on about. He used to say that he wanted to have Celtic being a club that's consistently season after season competing at that level, because that's the only way we're going to get good at that level, or consistently performing at that level, is being exposed to it year in, year out. So, it's unfortunate, JP. It's unfortunate, but we have to accept it and move on. Hopefully, with the noise that's been made from the fans, we do see change in terms of our transfer dealings and our transfer business. But
would you like to see change, Sean, in any way?
I've always said that I really like it when our deals are done early. I think under Ange, that's what we got, because I believe personally that Ange's signings and what he was wanting sort of aligned with what the board were their business model and how they wanted to operate in the transfer window. It seems that, to me anyway, that Rodgers likes to spend a bit more. We know that. So did that align with what the board wanted to do? Did they feel comfortable veering away from a transfer model that's worked for us? That's the question I would be asking, and that's what it appears like to me. But I loved it when under Angie's tenure that the signings were done early. A lot of them, not all of them, because we did make last minute signings under Ange as well, but seen that things happened faster in the transfer window under Ange, and I do believe that's because his signings aligned with what the board were looking for.
Yeah, 100%. We comment there for Mark. He says Bruges and USG, Union St Gallen. He said had very impressive results in the Champions League this week. USG models very interesting under Tony Bloom. Obviously Tony Bloom seems to have his fingers in many different pies now, Sean. He's in at Brighton, as Mark says. He's working with that USG, and he's also got money into Hearts as well. So he seems to be whatever he's given them. He's given them really good formulas and also to operate on. In terms of Hearts, mate, obviously there could be a severe improvement. Obviously there has been an improvement, but I mean longer term. to really, really become a major challenger. And in terms of the domestic season, and then obviously to try and get themselves into Europe, because Tony Bloom's obviously a very good operator. Bruges, they're a seasoned pro team now in the Champions League. They've been there many a times, and I don't think they've failed to qualify for a number of seasons now. So, but I think all in all, Sean, I think the DM McDonald here, his comments here about just to be competitive at a level and perform, I don't think that's an unreasonable thing for us to ask. And I think he's right, mate. I think that's all Celtic fans are looking for. And in order to do that, you need to refresh. You need to sort of continue it going. You can't just go and spend 11 million quid on Arnie Engels and do it once and then not do it for the next 5 years. That's not how when you hit that higher. I've always said it, Sean, when you play in the Champions League, mate, if you do that consecutively, you're then earning a pot, mate, that allows you to be able to do that every season. At least one of your players can come in at a higher value. Because you need it, mate. I know it's difficult, and I know I'm no silly enough, mate. I know how football works, and I know, Scotland and Glasgow is a very hard sell for players, especially the high-end of players as well. And that ultimately could have been done the Dolberg thing as well. Maybe Dolberg didn't want to come here. We only see the club not getting the deal done, and right away being on top of the club with that. But it could have been a number of reasons as to why that never happened and it never materialised for us. So one of them could have been the fact that, I don't fancy going to Scottish football. Why would he want to come and play against Kilmarnock on that pitch, or Livingston on that pitch, or Falkirk on that pitch, when he's got an opportunity to go and play against Feyenoord, PSV, AZ Alkmaar, and teams like that, week in and week out, So I can get it, mate. But Scotland, and this is where I think a lot of the fans forget this. As much as there's a massive rivalry in the country, Scotland's a hard sell, mate, especially nowadays. You've got Kilmarnock being beat by Connors Quay in Europe. Motherwell get beat by, who was it? Was it Sligo Rovers? No, who was it beat Motherwell? Was it Cork?
Is it no Sligo Rovers?
It might have been Sligo. I think it might have been Sligo Rovers. So this is what I'm saying. There's these teams beating our kind of. I don't want to be disrespectful, mate, but these teams, a good season for some of these teams, mate, are finished in the top 6. Hey, Mark, good man, mate. I've always liked Mark.
Tough Mark.
He knows his stuff, Mark. Well done, mate. I need to get you as one of our analysts sitting in the comments, getting ready with the stats and stuff. Sligo home and away, there you go. So obviously, so that's what I'm saying. So this is where a lot of teams and clubs and stuff, they do not take it seriously. As much as Celtic are humongous, Sean, unfortunately, mate, the product we have, it just isn't there. We can't attract. And this is just my opinion. See, unless you've got an affiliation with the club, we've got guys like Kieran Tierney back at the club, Brendan Rodgers back at the club. They've came back, Jota. They've came back to the football club because they had a relationship with the football club. They've been here. They'd already been before. Because if we tried to go and sign Kieran Tierney and he never knew Celtic and we wouldn't have got him. We'd have went to a West Ham or he'd have went honestly, categorically, we would not have got him. So, but that being said, I think that's partially the problem when it comes to doing transfers. Not all the time. That's why the model is the way it is as well, Sean, because obviously you've got to go and bring in younger guys who will, and this is, I don't mind saying this because it's the truth, will ultimately use it as a stepping stone to move somewhere else. So they'll come here, they'll play, they'll give you success, and they'll spend, they'll get you a few quid, and they'll move on to a higher calibre of wages, and maybe not a bigger club because there's no money bigger than Celtic. But certainly, the draw of Scottish football I'm afraid it's not there, mate. What's your view?
It's hard to argue with anything you've said there, JP. You've hit the nail on the head. It's this could be something and all. If you throw it in the mix with our transfers, that could be difficult to lure players, to come over and play. A lot of these players are coming from warm countries, and you're asking them to come and play at the start of a season that's predominantly starts in our colder nights. It's not an easy lure for to sell the Scottish League to these players, but it does help you if you're in Champions League. You do have that ace up your sleeve to lure some of the better players in. Now we've not got that. Is this the reason that boy chose Ajax over us? Is that aye, it's a hard one, mate. It's a hard one to try and go and get a player that's that people call established, and try and get them to come and play their football in Scotland. But this is what we need to be striving towards. That's ultimately how we're going to make a consistently, like you said, the reinvesting to get to that level and stay at that level. I mean, if we'd have got into the Champions League, what would our finances have looked like then? Because that would have been an extra 40 million coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So and that would have even strengthened us even more. But it's always going to be hard to sell Scotland, JP, and the fans us as fans need to recognise that as well. It's all right saying they want this player and that player, but trying to go out and find an established player and bring them here is going to be difficult. Our model works. That's the bottom line. Our model, bringing in players from these leagues and bringing them in at a lower value, selling them on, that clearly works. But yeah, you could go on and on about this, JP. I could be here all night talking about players coming in, players going out. And we have decent players go as well that could have stayed on and been. I look at Giacomakis. We could have kept him a couple of more seasons. He was a top quality player. It's just one of those things, mate. People are going to come and go. We're going to find it difficult to bring players in. We might not get the players we want, but as long as we're, this Turecki boy, what did we sign him for? Was it like five?
I think it's 5.5 million we got him for. Yeah.
5.5 million now. If he
same with Balikwisha.
I've not seen anything from him yet that's really exciting me, but he's playing out of position. Rodgers mentioned that in his presser today.
Yeah, he played out of position on Sunday, that's right.
Right. But, Turecki, if he continues, and if we get anything consistently out of him like we got in that last game, I mean, that's a player, JP. I'm excited about him, mate. If he's playing like that, then you're going to have a situation on your hands where does Jota even get back in the team?
Aye, Jota will play. You'll play him in either. You'll play the two in either wing. Jota's Jota, Sean. You're no. I've heard a couple of people say that, but Jota. Listen, I get it. Jota's probably going to take a wee bit as well. I wouldn't want Celtic fans thinking that Jota's no going to. He's not. He's going to come back. He's going to be Jota straight away. He might take a wee while to get back to the, the fitness.
Jota on the left compared to Jota on the right is two totally different players, in my opinion. Jota on the left is far, far better than, but you'd still rather have Jota on the right, I guess, regardless. But we're obviously going to be a while before we get him back, so we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
No, 100%, mate. In terms of the boy Turecki, mate, I'm really excited about him. I really am, and I've said this to the boys. I said I've never seen a guy eliminate a player in a 1v1 the way I did when I was watching Ronaldinho. It's been a wee while since I've seen a guy evade players. Lamine Yamal to an extent as well can do it, but there's no many wingers in the game now that just really, really embarrass a defender. And the boy Tanecki done it about 3 times to the boy Brown, who, by the way, has actually started the season really, really well with Kilmarnock. But after about 20 minutes in the first half, the boy was greeting for his mammy. He was kind of looking around about him going, oh no, what am I doing here, man? And listen, the boy Brown's obviously, he's technically good as well. I know it didn't show at the weekend because obviously you're up against Celtic and you're on the back foot quite more often than you're not. But when you see them, I'm not by the way, and I've said it, I think that's the 3rd time this week I've said that about Tanecki regarding him and the comparison with Ronaldinho. And by the way, I'm not saying he's as good as Ronaldinho. What I'm saying is that he's probably got the same contagious smile as Ronaldinho when he smiles right enough. But and he's probably got better hair than Ronaldinho had, to be fair. Ronaldinho's hair was long and curly. But no, as I say, the boy Tanecki in a 1v1 situation, he'd just destroy you. Absolutely. He's got that about him, mate. He can go. He's probably got about a dozen tricks on him. You don't know. I know people have said it's got to take a wee while to read his game. Don't bet on it, by the way. This boy can go either way. And he's rapid, I know.
I think the only question is what is his goal return going to be like? Can he get in amongst the goals and score like 15 plus goals in a season?
But that's what Brendan does, Sean. He improves football players, you know what I mean?
If he can do that, coupled with, and I get the Ronaldinho comparison, obviously, you know, I don't want to get publicly lynched for saying he's anywhere near Ronaldinho.
No, that's not what we're saying, though. We're saying in a 1v1 situation, his elimination skills are off the scale, man.
I think when you look at what he wants to do as soon as he gets the ball, it's very similar to what Ronaldinho was like. As soon as he got the ball, he wanted to drive at players and he wanted to dribble. That was what he wanted to do. And his IQ, Ronaldinho's, was, you know, through the roof.
Oh.
See this way, you know, there was one
There's a similarity, again, to Ronaldinho. I've just remembered, Sean, while we're talking about this. In terms of comparing him to Ronaldinho again, the one that he put through to Sriracha, he looked away when he done it. So when Ronaldinho used to look away and pass the ball, he actually looked inside and he passes the ball. So go and watch that footage back, and I was like, oh, that's cheeky.
There was one he done, and I thought, this boy's good. The ball got played into him, and he just he took a first touch that knocked it by the boy. You know, it just flipped.
Is that the one he nutmegged the boy Brown? He just put it through his legs and went run him. And
went run him, and he knew what he was doing. That was he knew what he was doing, and he was away. And I do see that, and it's really one of these wingers, mate, that's really exciting to watch, because you know every time he gets the ball, he wants to go forward, he wants to run at people, and him on the left with Tierney is going to be really, really, you know, that is exciting, mate. But who, if this boy does turn out to be, you know, a player, and who gets the credit for him? Who does the credit for him fall on? Well, this is it.
This is the question. I was speaking to my dad about this as well, and I said that who ultimately, on a stick that's been going on just now, who takes the derry for the signing of Tanecki?
Well, I tell you one thing, mate. Nobody's going to be coming out and saying, you know, well done the board and blah blah blah, because historically we don't do that. You know, when a Celtic signing's successful, and you know they go on to, you don't hear fans coming out and saying, you know, well done Nicholson, well done Law, or whatever. You don't hear that. You sort of merit the manager and the coach. So it will be interesting, but it's early doors. But the fact that we're this excited about a player, this is what we want. This is what fans want, to get players in that are going to excite you. That you know, kids are going to make banners about and you know try and get their T-shirt at the end of the match. These are the type of players that really excite the full fan base. Like Jota when he was at Celtic, it was just magical to watch Jota in full flow, and the seasons that we had him. So I'm really excited to get him back. But aye, it's listen. I know it's been a hard transfer window and whatnot, but what we're looking at is we're 9 points clear in the league of our biggest rivals. Yes, we didn't beat them at home, but that's a difficult place to go. A draw at Ibrox, you would take that, and let's see what we can do in Europe, in the Europa League, mate. I would like to see us, if we the levels that we got to in Champions League last year, and how far, like you said, we really beat Bayern Munich. If this team can do that in Europa League, then you would hope that we get far. Sorry, JP, I'm going to have to.
In terms of football-wise, we can... Sorry, mate, I was on mute there because when I was coughing, I had to take myself back off the mute. It's always a bonus, mate, when you want people to hear you.
I thought my Wi-Fi went there, mate.
No, you're fine, mate. That's the thing, mate. See, technology nowadays, it's one of the things that plays tricks on you when you don't want it to. But when you look at in terms of the football-wise, certainly all we can do is certainly look forward. And I also think the manager is kind of wanting to do similar. I've got a couple of audios from the manager, mate. I'll give us two a wee rest. Gigi, you're not the only man. Gigi said tonight in the comments, I was trying to mute you, JP. Aye. Fair play. Listen, my missus has been trying to do that for years, mate, but I'm still here. He's on it to try harder. Simple as that. Simple as that. You didn't even be able to put a gagging order on me. I still start talking about it. But, aye. We'll play a couple of wee audios for you, and then me and Sean will have a wee chat regarding what the thoughts are. So this is obviously the first one, Sean. He was asked today, I don't know if you've heard Brendan's presser. He was asked early on in the presser today regarding, the team never really played too well at the weekend, and what did you think? And he kind of shut it down straight away, and he says, well, why don't you go back to the beginning of what he says? And he said, but. So obviously I think Brendan's trying to concentrate just solely on the football. Because a couple of times through the presser, they tried to get him to speak about the off-the-field antics and what's going on there behind the scenes. And he wasn't engaging in it at all. He was just keeping it on the football. So obviously here's the first audio I'm going to play, and then obviously we'll chat about his thoughts, mate. So here we go.
Just going back to last weekend, Brendan, great result, but just a few minutes after full time, the fans are already chanting, sack the board. What's going to have to change, or what's going to have to happen for the focus of the supporters to be fully on what's going on the pitch as opposed to what's happening off it?
Well, I think the supporters are focused on what's going on the pitch. And I think just by your nature of how you say what you said, we've done really well, but... So let's forget what you said after but, and then just talk about the football. The football, the team is in a good place. Domestically, the team is strong, the spirit is strong. We're working on finding rhythm. I think this time last year the team was in great rhythm. Why? Because there was lots of players that had played there before, and we were just adding the likes of Nicholas Kuhn, and then we had everything in the team, speed, dynamism. Matt Riley hadn't gone, so the team is in a great place. This year now we've made changes, players have gone, new players are coming in, young players are making their debuts, so it takes a little bit of time for the rhythm, and rhythm breeds confidence. And that's what we're looking to find as the team, and that will come because the spirit is good, the environment is good, and we will get there.
So, obviously Brendan touches upon, he mentions the word rhythm quite a lot. I actually thought he was going to burst into song at one point there and give us rhythm as a dancer, a wee rendition of it, but No, in terms of that audio you've just heard there, obviously Brendan's concentrating on the football, and he gives a slight explanation as to, you know, potentially why the people talk about the performance levels and stuff haven't been up to scratch and they'll not be doing this. There has been a bit of disharmony throughout the team. Obviously, there's new players coming in, trying to bed in, making debuts, as he said, Sean. So obviously, I thought that was an interesting point there, mate, in terms of the way Brendan's looking at it on the field, because that seems to be what he's trying to do. He's trying to keep it about on the pitch.
Aye, and I think that's the right way to approach this. You know, it's the media were pretty poor, I thought, in that presser. You know, the stuff they were. They just tried to make it really negative, mate. You know, Celtic are in, take away all the stuff that's went on and what the fans' belief in all that is. We're in a great place in the league. You know, we're undefeated. We've not been beat. Our defence is solid. It's been solid. I know there's certain things in the matches and, you know, the performances haven't been, you know, blistering, but Rodgers talks about that and you know, about the rhythm of the players, because we're even seeing like players like Carter Vickers no quite, you know, playing at the levels we're used to seeing them at. Same with Callum McGregor. So and has it been the fallout for the transfer window? You know, McGregor was talking about it as well in one of his interviews in the lead up to it, get signings in. So now that that's just all done and dusted, I think it's just about moving forward now, you know, and looking at the reality where we're at. You know, we're really strong and healthy in the league, and if we're, you know, we're 9 points clear of our rivals, and if you're saying that and we've not hit our level yet, then that's a great place to be in. You know, that's what champions do. They win even when they're not quite at it. And as I say, we've got Europa to look forward to, even though it's not what we wanted, but we're there. So we're going to support our team. We're going to hope we get far in it. Then there's the two cups. So there's still a lot to be excited about with this season, mate. And I think Rodgers was right, you know, to highlight, you know, but you know, we got 3 points. We went there and done what we wanted to do, win the game. You know, whatever way we done it, fair. You can question that and ask about this player and that player, but ultimately we got what we came there for, 3 points, and we were all happy. I was absolutely over the moon. You know, it's a long way to get there, but we done it, and it's a good sign for going forward, mate. And there has been, you know, even Maeda, obviously the stuff that's been on can be done on him. Maybe that's resulting in his form, but you seen what Maeda was about when he scored, mate. He ran away and he was like grabbing the badge. And
what do you think of that, Sean? In terms of, because we all know now he wants away and stuff. Are you for that, mate? Because a lot of fans have said he's not kidding MD on with stuff like that. It's easy to do that now the window's shut, etc. So what's your take on that?
Listen, he's here, isn't he? He's here. So what you don't want is listen. If he wants to go, that's fine, right? If he wanted to go in that window, fine. I'm actually quite disappointed that he wasn't allowed to go. Obviously, I'm really happy that we've kept him. He's a fantastic player, but I think if a player wants to go, and I discussed this with Barry as well, like if a player wants to go, they should be allowed to and supported to go. You know, I think that breeds harmony within the team as well. You know, if you're another player and you're looking and you're going, you know, hold on a minute, what if I want to go in the next window? You know, am I going to meet the same resistance as that? But listen, he's here, and the fact that I thought his reaction to the goal was fantastic. You know, I think like it's a statement to say like, right, I'm here and I'm playing for the badge. You know, I'm playing for the team. I'm doing my best for the team. It'd be different if it was like, you know, like the whole Raskin situation
Yeah.
causing division, within the dressing room, dividing the harmony within the team. If he's doing that, then Christ, you don't even want him at the club. Get rid of him. But the fact he's here and he's trying and he's let's get the rest of the season at him. Get as much as we can at him.
Do you think he'll be here for the rest of the season, Sean, or do you think he'll be first out the door in January?
Well, listen, see if we get to January and his contribution to Celtic is a healthy league standing and a cup, whatever it is. Then come January, he's off. He goes with my well wishes, mate. So he's here. Let's get the most out of him while we've got him. That's my opinion, mate.
Yeah. No, I'm the same, mate, and I'm of the same opinion, the same as you, and obviously Barry, if you've chatted with him, mate, regarding, he should have been allowed to leave the club. But that's where the mad disappointment comes in, because then why are we not proactive enough to facilitate that? So when you go back to, you mentioned Big Ange there, like when you go back to that scenario, Ange didn't let Josip Juranovic leave until AJ was in the building. So he was, he was in the building and then he was allowed to go. So why can we not do that with most of our signings? It's down to timing, mate. It's down to getting it right, and when you do the work behind the scenes, that's what these guys get paid for. They get paid to facilitate this. And Brendan spoke about it a number of times, mate, about we need to get better at pulling the trigger, but we also need to pull the trigger the other way in terms of letting players go. Because Maeda's got a young family, mate. He's got a wife, 3 young kids, and a baby that they've just had. So, and I get it. Listen, I understand, and this is where I go back to the draw of Scottish football. The players will come here, they'll thrive, they'll do what they do, then they'll want to move on, not necessarily to a bigger club, but they're certainly moving on to better their lifestyle. They're better than their financial side of things, and that's the part I can understand. I've got a family myself, and I do understand it. He's got an opportunity, and it was Brentford. So regardless of whether people go, it's only Brentford. Listen, they're a top operating club at the moment as well, and they run things the right way. He's got a chance to play in the English Premier League. I understand. I can get why he wanted to take that challenge on board. Listen, there'll be other guys in there. I'm not going to start naming names, but we can start thinking of them. The guys that's been with the club a long time. Even you mentioned him earlier, CCV. He might want to be. Rio Watati. Because I guarantee if Maeda wants away, there's a good chance Rio Watati wants away. Because these guys want a different challenge. They want something different. They've been here. There's only so many times you can win a domestic treble. And ultimately, there's only so many times you can play in the Champions League with Celtic. But for footballers, Sean, it's no everything anymore. It's no... Because even, look at this year, Champions League was only a guarantee because we were winning the league and we were right in because of the coefficient. As soon as that's went, mate, we've failed to qualify at the first hurdle. And that's the way I look at that. I know that might, and I don't mean it to sound harsh, but that is the kind of harsh reality of it. Anytime Celtic need to qualify, they tend not to qualify more times than they do. I've given you a stat earlier. 9 times, they've failed to do it in 7. So, it's not just one-offs or this and that. Brendan sat in a presser last week and he told us that Maeda wanted to leave in February. He announced that he wanted to go. So to be still at the football club, mate, for me, I'm not on board with that. I think the boy should have been let go in the summer. That should have been facilitated. Yang wants away. He wanted to go. And I think what they've put him through in that situation is embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing to allow a player to go and do a medical and then you go, no, we're not going to get somebody else in. Mate, that can't happen. See that side of things, mate, that can't happen at a club at your size. It cannot happen.
I know.
Especially when you look at the... Now, I'm not saying that you're going to go out and spend 77 million quid. You've got a net profit of 77.3 million quid sitting in your bank account, mate. Yang was being sold for 3 million quid. Even if they spent 5 million quid, now I'll give you an example. They were humming and hawing about doing it for the boy Jacob Broom. Now, fair play, if it's been a choice between Jacob Broom and Tenecki, from what I'm saying to Tenecki, I'm really excited about that. But we don't know what the boy Jacob Broom would have brought. Would he have been better than Young? Would he have been a different player from Young? But we just didn't pull the trigger. And that's where we keep... For me, Sean, that I keep saying to Ryan as well, that's for me where I call it dilly-dally. I don't know what individuals would call it, but I call it dilly-dally. That's where we're dilly-dallying. We shouldn't have been in a position, Sean, where we can't let Maeda leave because we need to turn around and say to the player, well, we can't get somebody else in.
Right.
The transfer window was open for 2.5 months. The work that's done when the window closes between there and the next window, that should all be implemented in that time. So what's going on? What's happening in there? Why is the trigger not being pulled on to facilitate these moves? And that's the bit, Sean, that when I say the methods, mate, that's the bit we need to sharpen the tool on, mate.
No, I agree, and it is embarrassing, mate. It's no good to see your club, hold on to players that ultimately should have left in that window. We don't want to see Maeda go. Christ, nobody. We were talking about it on the podcast before the transfer window. We wanted to keep him at least another season. But
what happens, Sean, if he shows the form of the 2 ties against Kyrat? That's 2 sitters he's missed a mate, and then his penalty was... I don't want to swear, but it was shit, to say the least.
When I seen Maeda, listen, Maeda's never had a good penalty, in my opinion. The one he scored in the
Hold on a minute, mate. He won his cup final last year.
Aye, but he came out after the match and says he
miskicked it. Aye.
And he hit the penalty he took and missed against Kyrat. He stepped up and he hit it the exact same way.
Do you have confidence in him, Sean, to knuckle down? And because the form he showed early in the early season, mate, has got kind of guys like myself wondering.
I think what you were probably seeing there was the uncertainty of his situation. But I think now that he's here and the window's closed, I do believe. Listen, it could turn It could turn around and be like one of the most remarkable and best things that's ever happened to us was Maeda not going in this window because he could be so influential for us in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
This is the level of player we're dealing with here. So, listen, he's here. I don't think Maeda's the type of player that's going to... I think he wants to play football. It looks like he's for now even that he's going to be playing through the middle. Where we all wanted him to be. Where we wanted to see him play. So, I have no any concerns with Maeda. He just doesn't strike me as the type of guy, mate, that's going to down tools because he never got what he wanted. Just the way he conducts himself. What we've seen him over the seasons that we've had him. I think we will get the Maeda that we had towards the end of last season at some point. It's just, I think, everything that's been happening in the transfer window while we've still been playing with football has probably impacted him in the sense that he's not known, where he's going to be playing his football. Is it going to be us? That would have an impact on anybody. But listen, he's here. This is what we wanted. If you think about it in that sense, all of us before the transfer window, we were all saying, let's hope we keep Maeda for another season. Now, whether it's a full season or whether it's to January, who knows? But he's here. Let's get behind him and let's hope he returns to the form that he had towards the end of last season.
Yep, fingers and toes are all crossed just now, mate. Thinking about the game on Sunday, obviously. Another guy, we've got a really strange situation around, mate. Jemai Simpson-Puzzi. He seems to have made less appearances than Houdini himself so far for Celtic. Some have said they've not even seen him play fives with the team yet. Brendan did confirm that obviously the team went out in a bonding session during the week, and obviously it was kind of asked to him about the Rangers situation going to Loch Lomond, and I've got it on good authority, mate, that our boys went to the time capsule and we're getting a shot at the films during the week. So I don't know if that's...
I've got a good authority that Scales is a concert with Ryan.
Yes, aye. Well, they were pictured, as I say, they were certainly pictured at the Coldplay gig together. There they are. They get caught on the big screen. So Scales is partial to a wee concert or two, mate. So I certainly
Wouldn't begrudge him that, come on.
No, I certainly wouldn't begrudge him, mate. He's a hard-working man. Good to see him doing a press conference today as well. And he put some of the press in their place as well, where they're questioning about Adam Eder, etc. So I like that myself. But just touching on Jemai Simpson-Puzzi, I think it would be rude on a Friday night not to talk about Pussy, but there we go. We're going to divulge into it, as they say, mate. I've got a wee bit of an audio from Brendan regarding the situation with Jemai, or as Brendan likes to call him, jamming, which is Spanish for ham. But I don't think a big man will be too chuffed about that, if I'm being honest. I think I'd been raging if I heard a gaffer call me jamming. But maybe he was listening to Bob Marley, I don't know. And he was doing a bit of jamming himself, who knows. But I've got a wee audio here regarding Simpson-Puzzi. Brendan gives a wee insight as to what's going on with him, mate. So I'll play that and then we can have a wee chat about Jam On.
Can I ask about Jemai Simpson-Puzzi since you signed him? Obviously, I think he came in the squad for the Kyrat game, but struggled to get in the squad. He's just going to have to be patient to get in.
Yeah, I think it was a medium to longer term. We were looking at a young Jam in here. He was a player, obviously we had our centre halves in place, but he was a young player that we seen was a talent. Of course, in the Champions League games there's more space on our bench. You're not really having to put 2 and 3 centre halves on your bench, so he's a come in. The team have defended well in the main, but he's here for the 12 months at least to show what he can do, and he's and it's not easy. You come into a club like Celtic, you still have to earn your position in the team. You're coming into a new environment, you're moving away from his club, so it just takes time. Again, it's that adaptation. You know, Liam Scales and Cameron Carter-Vickers have been doing really well. Dame Murray's been great over the course of pre-season, and of course we've still got Austin Trusty, who's just coming back from injury, and so the competition is there, and like I always say, for every player you have to earn your place. But I'm really pleased with his development, how he's been moving in the right direction, adapting to the intensity of how we work and how we play, and moving away from Manchester as well. So yeah, I've been pleased for him, and I'm pretty sure that over the course of the season, when that opportunity comes, he'll show that he's ready.
So obviously we insight there from the gaffer regarding jamming, as he called him. Obviously that's a wee nickname Brendan's decided to give him. He done the same with Jota. He called him Jota. So Brendan seems to have his ways of explaining people's names to people. He calls Brownie Brownie. So yeah, it's not the first time he's done that with people's names, Sean. But obviously a wee insight there, mate, to anybody that, you know, maybe wondered what was going on with Simpson-Puzzi, and you know what's kind of happening there. What's your thoughts, mate? Because this is a guy that's came from Man City, played in the Man City team last season in the Champions League, and he's come up here and he's not yet kicked a ball with the team. Brendan did tell us he's a wee bit behind. He's not played a lot of football. There was a mad rumour going about that, you know, he's supposed to have refused to play for Celtic's B team. That's why we've not seen him. But according to Brendan Earl, mate, you know, he's definitely someone that's still around the place. And I mean, if that rumour was true, mate, and he refused to play for the B team, in my opinion, if I was a manager, mate, he'd have been back on a Ryanair flight back to Manchester. As simple as that. He'd have been sent down the road if that was the case. Now, where people's tongues are wagging is the fact that he's been left out the Europa League, Sean. And I don't know if it's because of Brendan explaining there, with the Champions League, you've got more scope to have more players on your bench. I'm not sure what it's like in the Europa, if it's different or without checking offhand. Because I'm live here, I can't. So if anybody in the comments does know, can you let me know if that's the case? But in terms of your own thoughts, mate, what are you thinking?
Well, obviously there was the talk of that whole, the B team thing. I think that was just a rumour, mate. I don't believe there's anything in that. And the boys clearly, he's came for a massive club under one of the best managers ever, in Pep Guardiola. So there's clearly he's, competed and trained at the top level. So I don't think he's going to come and refuse to play in the B team for Celtic. Maybe his expectation was to come up and get first team football. I don't know, but you're not going to do that. Coming in with he wasn't fit. Even he wasn't up to the. He hadn't played and he hadn't had much training. So first of all, he has to get up to speed with the first team before you can even think about putting him in a game. So
yeah.
And these boys understand that, he's not going to be, dismissing of that.
Are you surprised, Sean, that he's not played up to now? He's not featured in any of the games, because we have played games like Falkirk and he's not played in any. He went to Kyrat and he was on the bench, and again he never didn't get on. I
think you can. It could have had even just like a wee cameo appearance. 10 minutes at the end of a game. But at the same time, you don't want to throw in a guy that's, really not up to the match level fitness, because then he's just going to get absolutely hounded by the fans and by the media, and you want to protect your players as well. Even though he's here on loan, but he's going to be here till the end of the season. So you also, Brendan Rodgers has got a duty to protect him. Pick the right time and still when to put him into the team. But I would like to see him, if he's fit and available. I would like to see him feature, at the weekend. I think that would be the perfect opportunity to get him some minutes and take Scales at the team, leave Carter Vickers in it still, because I think Scales has been phenomenal for Celtic this season, start of this season. That's answered a lot of critiques. I was even one of them. I wanted to see a left-sided centre back signed, but I did still have.
Ryan's obviously still loved up with him, but he still criticises the hell out of him, man, all the time. But that's just because he keeps making his team, isn't he, man?
Well, it's funny. It's clearly obviously one of the love-hate relationships, isn't it?
Mental. Aye.
Toxic relationship.
It's only a one-sided thing as well. It's just with Ryan, because for what I get with Scales, he's a gentleman.
Aye, and he clearly looks like in love. But Ryan's clearly.
And that photo, you can see how close the two of them are. Do you know what I mean?
Aye, pull the photo up again. Let's see how intimate they actually get.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan's got both arms wrapped around him there,
And he's gripping Ryan as well. It's
clearly
intimate and in public as well. So, listen, I wish them all the best, the pair of them. But whatever's going on, clearly it's not affecting Scales' football, because he's had a fantastic start of the season. But let's get Pusey into the squad at the weekend. Get him some minutes and let's see what he's about. I don't believe all this rumour stuff about not playing in the B team. He's a professional. He's coming up here. He's on loan. He's obviously wanting to make his, he's obviously wanting to do well while he's here. We've seen players come on loan and do really well for Celtic, and look where it's just took them in their career. So I don't believe that, mate. I don't buy into that. So
as Graham Martin says, he's on loan. He's a loan signing, but why play him when the defence has been excellent? So there's certain folk can have arguments the other way as well. The defence has been, we've only conceded one goal domestically.
Exactly.
In the league anyway, but in the cup we've conceded one as well. But that's 2 goals since the start of the season.
Exactly, mate. And we've played tough teams in that in the fixtures. So that you can't argue with the defence's return. and we've lost our best right back in a number of years. Actually, you know, Alistair Johnson's phenomenal for Celtic, and it's you can't argue with the start we've had defensively. You know, maybe you can pick holes in the rest of the playing style, but you know, when your keeper's keeping clean sheets and your defence is not letting in many goals, you can't argue with that, JP.
No, 100%, mate. And listen, it's as much as people are slagging him, saying he's no fit to play 90 minutes and stuff, but Kieran Tierney's a big factor as to why the defence is also not conceding as much now. You've said there as well, Liam Scales. I think he's been phenomenal, Sean.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, mate, I think he's been absolutely immense. He's been colossal. He was colossal at Ibrox. I know there wasn't much happening in the game. I know there wasn't much to do, but when he was asked to defend his box, because that Rangers team currently are playing for set pieces, they're playing off set pieces to try and get second balls and stuff, and usually they've not been playing them, but usually they're asking in a man-to-man situation, Rangers play a kind of man blocking, where they go with a 3 to go as blockers, and Raskin, because he's small and nimble, he gets through the gaps to try and get on the end of. That's a strategy that Rangers have tried to deploy against Celtic in the last number of games. I know they're under a different manager now, they're being asked to play a different way, but still, even under that the current regime, even there, Rangers' problem is the turnover of the ball, and the reason for that is the players aren't good enough to play the way he's asking them to play.
Yeah.
So they've got players in their team that can't play that football, so they're not used to it. So instead of them playing 5-yard passes, they're being asked to play 15 and 16-yard passes through into the mid-60s, and they're ultimately not good enough to do it. So where they're coming unstuck, especially against Bruges, is Bruges put an extra man in the midfield and just pressed high, and the turnover was constant. But where they knew they were coming unstuck against Celtic. They couldn't play through Celtic. They put Gassama from left wing onto right wing to try and have him facing Tierney up, and he couldn't do it. So when you see them, they revert to type. So certain individuals like John Souttar and everything else, they start playing long balls.
They do that.
So they revert to type. That's what they're used to doing. That's what they feel comfortable doing. That's what they've been trained to do for the last number of seasons. Right. And that's what happened against us. So when people say there wasn't much happening in that game, you go back and watch the game, Celtic defended immensely. And I'm including Tony Ralston in this as well. He was aggressive, and he was, and he was diligent. He had to be to concentrate for the game. We never conceded. Ultimately, we never done much at the top end of the field, and that was my only gripe with the game. We didn't have enough quality in the final third to go and really... Because if we'd enough quality in that game, we would have really hurted them. Especially that big boy Giga.
Aye.
And that's where you see Maeda, like you say, the uncertainty of the window and everything, they've come off it. He's no full... Because a full Maeda, mate, a fully concentrated Maeda is just boom. He's right on top of him. I mean, he'd get the ball off him about 2 or 3 times.
Aye.
And he was in bits. But that's the problem. Their centre-halves want 2-3 touches before they're releasing. You watch Scales play, Sean, especially now with Tierney. Tierney speaks to him. I was at Celtic Park, and I was at the Newcastle game. I was at the first game of the season as well, and you see Tierney talking to him. Tierney talks to him as in drive when he's telling him to drive with the ball, and that's when you see Scales stepping out towards midfield. He's telling him to go forward. He's telling him when to go, when to sit. He's talking to him, and then you see Carter Vickers talking to him as well. But Scales is now developed. I mean, he talks about it in his presser, and he says about having to go to left back. He says it's a hard thing to do, especially when you forgot how to do it for a long time. He said, I've played a number of games now with Celtic at centre-half. He said it's easy to forget. He said, but especially when you've played 70, 75 minutes in that position, and then you're being asked to do it there, he says, you forget how much running's involved up and down that line. So to show that versatility, like David Grant talks about that in his comment there, I think that's immense to have in your team, mate. He might not be the best footballer, Sean. Certainly for defending wise, mate, he's very good at it, mate, and very able.
I love him or hate him, mate. The Liam Scales story at Celtic is it's remarkable.
Oh, 100%, mate. This is a boy that was in an Aberdeen losing side to Darvel.
Aye, this is a guy that never got a look in under Ange, and you know, it's just it is a remarkable story. Whether you, as I say, whether you like him or you love him or you think that we can, there's better out there than Liam Scales, whatever. But I remember being on this podcast before the season as well, and I mentioned exactly what's happened. I thought, like, you know, he's going to be playing with Kieran Tierney to the left of him, and playing to the left. Having Kieran Tierney to the left of any defender is only going to make that defender better. So I figured that would be the ripple effect to Kieran Tierney being back in that defence we'd see a better Liam Scales. And not only, I mean, the biggest compliment to Scales' he's start to this season is he's started better than Carter Vickers.
Yeah.
And if he'd have said that pre-season, that Liam Scales would start the season better than Carter Vickers, the fans would have called you a madman. They'd said to you, you're smoking.
Certain fans will probably still say it to you if you knew that you've mentioned that tonight, but listen, I do agree with you. I think he's
there in black and white. If you're watching the football that we're watching and watching the same games that we're watching, you can't argue with that. He has had a better start. I'm not saying he's better.
I would say so.
But he's started the season better than Carter Vickers. And I'll tell you another thing, JP, that often gets overlooked. He's probably my biggest threat for corners. He's the only player that you could say when we win a corner, but hopefully Big Scales gets on the end of this.
Yeah. My dad says that constantly because he knows he's good with his head and stuff like that, and he's aggressive. So, yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I totally agree. I think his heading ability, that's what he probably needs to improve on that as well. There's probably more goals in Big Scales if he set pieces. I'd love to have seen Scales playing a Martin O'Neill side that way because they used to win a lot of headers and score goals off the back of set pieces. But yeah, I think, you know, Rubber Duck says there, you know, like Scales and Murray for corners. Dane Murray's also a player who's quite aggressive and he's already scored with his head this season, so off a set piece. But you know, I can get what certain fans are talking about. You know, like Plunge says there, we should be signing better than Liam Scales. Like so give me an idea. Give me an idea what that means, Plunge. I've heard that millions of times. I've asked the fans the same thing. Give me an idea of what that looks like. And how much money do you think it's going to cost to go and play a guy that's played over 100 games for Celtic to go and replace that?
Well,
there's guys in the team in the squad just now, and none of them, he's a mainstay, none of them are taking his place. So does that mean all of them aren't good enough? Or does that mean that, you know, because it's ultimately the manager that for me that's picking that player. So when I hear, you know, that's my gripe with people when they go Scales isn't good enough. Well, he's defied that right away because he's played to play for over 100, and I'm talking about he's had man of the matches in the Champions League and all that and all. So he's totally defied that, Sean, in my opinion, mate. To make that statement, for me personally, hearing that, I think that's silly because he's played over 100 games for Celtic. This isn't a guy that's just come into the Celtic team.
No.
So, but that doesn't guarantee, you know, a Champions League defender, you know, player at 10 million. That he's an international footballer. So he's not only playing with Celtic, he plays for the Republic of Ireland. Now, where are people go, well, that's not really a good level. To do that, he's had man of the matches in the, you know, if other clubs are looking at him and looking at his CV, that's going to be the most impressive thing because what he's got under his belt. To have played over 100 games for Celtic, mate, for me, that's just phenomenal in itself, let alone, you know, because all of that's not just playing against teams like Raith Rovers and stuff like that. I mean, I think his record in a derby, you know, it's phenomenal. He's not lost many. And he's, you know, like you say, Sean, his performance against them there was unbelievable. But his performance against Atalanta, I mean, I could write him off numbers of games where he's really stepped up and showed his level. I agree that he's not the best of footballers in terms of, he's no Virgil van Dijk, the amount of critique he takes and the amount of abuse he takes, personally, I don't see it, Sean. I really don't get it.
Do you think JP's skills is an improvement on Starfelt?
I do now, just because of the prolonged games he's played for Celtic, yeah. I think he's improved himself to bring it to that point. Personally, I do, yes, because I don't remember Starfelt getting any man of the matches in the Champions League or in Europe for us or standing out that way. Although I did love Carol Starfelt, I thought he was excellent.
Aye.
But see, this is crazy, right? see, as much as people slag Big Scales off, right? I've never watched Scales in the Celtic team and thought to myself, there is a heart in your mouth moment with him. But you go back to, you mentioned it earlier, Carter Vickers. Mate, he passed the ball into the fucking net against Club Brugge and scored an OG.
Aye.
When Schmeichel was nowhere near the goal. He then lets the ball roll under his leg at Celtic Park against Kairat Almaty, and the boy nearly chipped Schmeichel. Mate, my heart was in my mouth.
Aye.
I was like that, like standing in the stand, like what is going on?
Aye.
Like, what are you doing? This isn't the first time Carter Vickers, and I'm not saying Carter Vickers is a bad defender, by the way. I'm picking out situations. Tell me when Liam Scales has done anything like that. He's never done anything like that. For me, he just keeps things simple. He doesn't do anything hard. He switches off in moments, but what player doesn't he? By the way, Kieran Tierney's he's not been in the best of form. But he evades criticism because, it's Kieran Tierney and blah, blah, blah. Don't overlook what somebody's done for you. Because he's been absolutely remarkable for the football team.
Exactly. I agree with you, mate. And, you know, if you were trying to go and get somebody like Liam Scales, you know, he's tailor-made for Celtic. He's a Republic Island international. He knows the club. You know, he's played. You know, he knows the level he's playing at and what's been. If how I know the guy's saying, like, you know, replace him with better quality. How can you go and buy somebody like that who's he's tailor-made for Celtic? He ticks every box, and the performances he's putting in, you just can't argue with it, mate. It's got to the point where it's as if people are just.
No, I've said it, Sean. See, if you're slagging him still, mate, you just don't like him. That's it,
mate. Because if you're willing to let, like you said, if you're willing to let Carter Vickers do the stuff that he's done, and still, you know, applaud him, which rightly so, because Carter Vickers deserves that. He's been colossal for us. Mm-hmm. But give Scales the same courtesy. You know, don't lambast the guy when he makes a mistake, because it's going to happen. But when is
he ever, apart for the game last season we get slaughtered in, right, at Dortmund, when has Liam Scales actually done anything that you go, my God, he's all out of camp here?
You know,
I certainly cannot remember a game where I was going like, he's miles away here. Now, he makes mistakes. By the way, they're all human. Every one of them all make mistakes. Michael makes mistakes. Cal McGregor makes mistakes. But again, you know, these guys like when Liam Scales does anything wrong, he seems to get held to a higher set of standards. And people go, well, the other boys have got more in the bank. Liam Scales has played over 100 games for Celtic here. He's not just, this isn't him just bedding into the team. He's played over 100 games. Celtic didn't go and spend 8-9 million quid for Liam Scales. So, he's no new. He's been here a while, and he knows exactly what's required. So,
I can't even recall ever remembering them giving away a penalty either. I couldn't tell you if he's even gave away a penalty, has he, for Celtic? I can't. To my memory, I can't think of anything.
No, he got away with one in the cup final, didn't he? With the one with Czerny. And the review after that, there was a moment at Ibrox there in where Miovski froze his cell, and he actually nearly got an Oscar for his performance.
Well, listen,
Um,
I don't know what it is with that club, but any player that seems to come into them, they fit right into that mould. That Gassama and all, he's another one.
aye.
Ant-Man's first game, he took a dive and there was nothing in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for them to turn around and say that the Diamondi challenge, there was nothing in that, but they turn around and say the Ant-Man one against, was it Poulsen?
Aye.
That,
No. It was the. Was it no the? Oh, who was it? Was it Poulsen?
I thought it was against Poulsen. He just took a dive in the box, but there was no touch on him at all.
Oh, aye. It was the Poulsen man. Aye, where he went down.
That was never a penalty. But it just seems that, you know, these guys they bring in, they're just tailor made for taking a dive. I don't think that's paranoia. It's just what I'm observing.
By the way, Larson made mistakes. First game he gave a ball to Chuck Charlie. We lost the game. He scored the goal. Third game, he played against Dunfermline the following Saturday, and he slipped. The boy took the ball off him and crossed the ball in. They scored. This was off the left wing, because Larson never ever started at Celtic as a striker. He started on the left. Then his third game was against an Austrian team. I'll be back, and I couldn't tell you if they're still a team now. I've not heard their name being mentioned for a long time. They were called FC Tyrol. And Celtic really struggled against them away from home. I think it was a very narrow scoreline. But we beat them something like 6-2 at Celtic Park. But one of the Tyrol goals was a Larson OG.
Right.
So he scored an OG that night. And I remember my dad turning to me and going, I think we've bought a fucking dumpling, son. He says, I don't know why Celtic have brought this boy with the deadlocks. My dad says, I know, but he always reminds himself all the time, right? But he turned and he says to me, you need to have something about you, son, to have your hair and dreadlocks, I'll tell you. He says, and this boy's a lump of wood, man. And I was like, all right, okay. And then obviously Larson clicks into gear, and then again, wasn't he always a striker? Even when we beat Rangers 5-1, that season Lobos signed with the team with Joe Venglos, Larson was coming off the left. He wasn't always a centre forward, because at that point Simon Donlan was kind of playing centrally, and then it changed. And when Martin O'Neill came in, that's when Larson sort of became a striker and really took his game to a different level. So Larson didn't start well, and he made mistakes, by the way.
Aye.
But because of who these guys are, Daisen Maeda has been utter dross, for better word, this season so far. I know he scored a good goal at the weekend, and fair dues, but, Adam Maeda scored 20 goals last season, and 3 of them were in the Champions League. But, yeah, he's held to a higher set of standards than a guy that's missing sitters and ultimately misses a penalty that really knocks you out of the Champions League, effectively, in that penalty shootout, really. Because we had to score to stay in that penalty shootout. But that's what I'm saying, things like that are quickly forgotten about. But when it comes to other players who are people's scapegoats, then, they seem to get a doing. But obviously moving on, mate, quickly. We've not really touched much upon it, but we'll briefly have a wee chat, mate. Celtic take on Partick Thistle at Firhill. Not been there for a wee while, mate. An ex-Celt, obviously, is a Thistle manager now. In terms of that game, mate, what are you expecting?
Listen, I don't want to. You never want to, downplay a game or a team or a manager, but I expecting a comfortable Celtic victory. I could fall on my sword with that one, but
Have you been watching Thistle at all, Sean? Have you seen any other games that have been on, like BBC Scotland and stuff?
I have not, mate. I have not. I'll be honest and say that. But with the talent we have got and the budget that Celtic got, it's a David versus Goliath situation. But I don't know how they're doing. Maybe you can tell. Have you been watching them? Have you seen
Yeah, well, I seen them. I seen their game last Friday. They came for a goal behind and won 2-1. He made some really good subs in a moment where Thistle needed a wee injection, and 2 lads that came off the bench actually effectively came on and scored the 2 goals to win them a game. So it's a wee bit of a mixed bag, mate. 1 minute they're playing some good football, and next minute they revert to a long ball. a couple of times they've changed formation, so they've kind of went 4-4-2. I think next week there'll be there'll be probably a 9-1-1. We'll probably play a 9-1-1. They'll part the bus next on Sunday, so we'll need to wait and see, mate. But depending on the way they set up, I wouldn't like to see them parting the bus. I'd like to see them having a go. I'd like to see them trying to, because it's ultimately a cup final for them, really.
Aye.
And it's a chance for them also to get to Hampden as well, as much as it is for us. And I like to watch good football. I like watching teams that ultimately open up and have a go. When I see teams going into a low block like that and really parting the bus, mate, I just take it as a massive compliment, because they know then what they're up against and they know what we're going to bring. It just depends on what Celtic team are fielded on the day, mate, and what kind of keys we're going to have to unlock the doors. But in terms of the team, mate, what are you thinking? What do you think the team will be? Do you think there'll be changes, or what do you think the lineup will be?
I think probably there will be changes, but I think there will be a core. I think Sinisalo will come in. He's got to, hasn't he? He's got to play Sinisalo in that game.
I think he might, aye.
I think he's got to, man. Give the guy some game time. These are the games you want to give him. Some game time. And listen,
Poor Ross Doohan again, man's getting overlooked.
I just think Sinisalo, the games that he did come in and play when Schmeichel was out with his shoulder, he was awesome. So, you can bank on this guy to bring him in a game like that and not really lose much. You're not getting the same quality as Schmeichel, but you're not losing a lot of quality either. And then I would like to see guys like Bernardo get a start, Luke McCowan, still would keep Callum McGregor in there, but maybe have Luke McCowan and Bernardo and McGregor as your midfield three. And then Kaneki, get him on again. Let's see what he's made of. Maybe get him a goal. I'll get his Celtic, career up and running on the score sheet. And you're probably looking at, I don't know, I think one of the guys in the comments had said about Osmond. Will we see him?
I think that was Jem, earlier.
I would like to see him. Maybe as a sub. I would maybe. We went.
Do you think Johnny Kenny and Yamada might come back into the team in a bit there, or maybe any actual? Because obviously he needs games as well, doesn't he?
That's the thing. I would like to see any actual starting bit as well. It's a difficult one. There's loads of players throughout that team that I would like to
That's
see.
what I was going to say. I better hope you're not going through a Barry Ferguson formation here, or you'll end up with everybody in your squad playing.
I would like to see.
Hope your maths is a bit better tonight.
I don't know. But no, there is just throughout that full team. There's players that I would like to see. Inamura, I liked him every time I've seen him. I would like to see him get a run out. I know. I couldn't pick a team for the weekend, mate. I could just obviously say.
So you're not giving me a formation, and you're not giving me a lineup. Too hard.
I could give you a lineup, mate, but I would probably know what's going to be played. I just couldn't. I don't know how he's going to play it. I don't know, is he going to keep a full, is Carter Vickers going to play McGregor? Is he going to Maeda? It's a difficult one, mate. A difficult one. What are you thinking?
Well, I'll give you my lineup. I'll tell you what I think the team's going to be. And this is me using my manager's head as well and trying to think what Rodgers is going to do. So I think it will be Sinisalo. I think Kobe Donovan, Dane Murray. I don't think he'll play anybody else. I think it'll be Scales. And I think the boy Sriracha will start again at left back. His midfield, I think, will be... This is what I think it will be. I think it will be McGregor, Engels and McCown. And I think it will be Yang, Taneke in the actual. That's who I think will start the game.
I wouldn't have been too far off that, mate. I'd have said I would rather have Bernardo in there than Engels. I think Engels has played some games this season, started against Rangers. I would like to see Bernardo in there. When is this guy ever going to get, break his way into this team? He can't be on the bench forever. We need to see Merriam. I would like to.
He might get left in the stone a couple of times. He might not be on the bench. He might be up in the stone watching the game. So there could be a slight change of circumstances from there again.
But no, my team wouldn't have been far off that, mate. To be honest, but as I say, I don't know how he's going to do it. Do you bring the changes, or do you be a bit pragmatic, or do we take this team for granted that we're up against? And there's loads of variables within that.
I don't think Brendan will take the team for granted. He never ever does. He never seems to do that, mate. He gives every team respect in every way, shape or form. Excuse me, hold on a minute. I've seen a few wild comments tonight, by the way, but this is probably one of the worst ones. So I've got a wee comment here for GG. Vodka and orange finished, JP. I'm not having that, GG. Come on, that's strike 2. You said something earlier on and all. That's your strike 2, mate. Don't let there be a strike 3.
What was it? He said something about he tried to mute you.
He tried to mute me earlier and all. That's strike 2, man. So let's get that straight. Right, so look at the size of that. I'd be flinging bread at helicopters now if I felt that with vodka and orange. Let's just face it now. Look at the size of that. It's a Volvic bottle. Behave yourself. I might be Fairy East End, but I've got a bit more class about me than that, GG. Come on. Maybe about 10, 15 years ago, you might have been accurate there. Maybe 10, 15 years ago, you might have been accurate there. That might have been vodka orange, vodka Red Bull, whatever it might have been, but I'm 41 now, mate. I don't have that luxury anymore. I can't just go out partying whenever I feel like it. I've got 2 young kids, one at 7, one at 5, and a Saturday morning is wild. I've got to drive, I'm busy with my wedding, so yeah, they go to clubs and all that on a Saturday, so no, I can't be sitting here with big 1.5 litre bottles of vodka and orange, mate. That's not how we roll anymore on a Friday, sorry. But yeah, mate, I'm looking forward to seeing Celtic again, Sean. And aye, as Paradise Huddle 1 says, Kelechi took his penalty like a pro. His celebration was even better. I've come up with a new nickname for him, Sean. From now on, I'm going to start calling him Nacho Provo.
I'm sure there'll be a song in there, mate, that you could maybe.
Aye. I'm going to try and, because he was in Spain, so I'm going to try and get paella in it somewhere and try and get it. I'll maybe even get a guitar back out for that one and try and come up with a wee chorus and that. Don't put any comments, anybody, for the next podcast. I'm not that quick. I've got a busy weekend ahead of me. So there's a wee team prediction from Plungy Cell. Sinisalo, Donovan, JSP, Scales, Inamura, Bernardo, Engels, McCown, Barlick, Wisha, Forrest, and Yamada. Oh. But
no McGregor in the team.
No McGregor in the team, no. Plunge is obviously giving McGregor a wee rest.
Who would even captain us out of that? Scales?
Big Scalesy. He's a go-to man, isn't he? Just to annoy Ryan even more. I think he should just give him a captaincy. Just at the end of the season, take it off McGregor and get to Scales along with a new 5-year deal. Just for a laugh. I'd love to see Ryan's face, man. I would have. Ryan would probably emigrate if he'd done that, by the way, I'll tell you. Graham Martin says, just James Forrest for Yang JP. So he would just change James out of the team I picked. Not me, I'm way off. He's probably going to play one of the big hitters, but listen, it's an opportunity to get to Hampden again, Sean. It's an opportunity to get to a semi-final, mate. So I'm pretty sure Brendan will go certainly strong. We've got a week where we've got 3 games rapid. So we play Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday. So I'd imagine again, Brendan might look to use the squad somehow, mate,
Aye.
and keep players fresh, you know, because like we saw, Ralston getting injured out of nothing, Jota get injured out of nothing, Alistair Johnson get injured out of nothing. Injuries can happen, mate, and they can happen really fast when you least expect them. So the last thing Brendan will want is, you know,
Aye.
to be taking more injuries. But I'm afraid that's all we do have time for this fine Friday evening. Sean, thanks very much, mate, for coming on and taking the time with us, mate.
Aye, thanks for having us, JP. I always enjoy being on the pod and just speaking to yourself, seeing what the viewers have got to say. All makes for an interesting chat, mate. So I really enjoyed myself, and thanks for having us, and I'll see you all again soon.
Smashing. Just before I go, just to let everybody know, in case you didn't know, I just want to get it in there that this podcast is sponsored by A&B Entertainment. Jesus, I nearly forgot his second name there. I nearly said A and something else. Big Alec Beveridge, who's been on the pod a few times. It is a DJ and entertainment business, so aye, and he's looking for anything at all, getting all his details and hit him up. I'm sure he'll do his best to get you a wee gig or two sent your way. But before I forget, Sean, I need to do something for a good friend, mate. He's asked me to do this a favour. We don't normally do this, but I did say I would do it before we finish tonight. So if there's anybody in the chat at all, you get young kids, grandkids, anybody at all who is looking to take up swimming, there's lessons ongoing now in the East End of Glasgow. Here's the details for
it. Is that another team day out?
It can be, mate, if you've got a team that knows it. It knows you want to go a day out. But I think that's a fantastic. There's no joining fee or anything like that. It's a fantastic enticer, I think, Sean.
$16.90 a month. They not made it $18.80 a month.
That's not too bad, mate. I don't think. I mean, look at that ring. You get it at the Loch Lomond edition as well, mate. It's no for the faint-hearted at all. Apparently, the classes all come with fully qualified instructors. They're there. So, as I say, mate, I don't think you're getting a better deal anywhere else. What about yourself?
I say it's a bargain for money, mate, I must say. You're no... The thing is, you're going to get good comedy value there and all, so...
Apparently, when they get indoor at the winter, apparently there's going to be renditions of Baby Shark getting played on the tannoy around the pool and all that as well. The pools might be heated as well, apparently, so...
Aye. Bring your own armbands and...
Aye. Yeah.
I tell you, for all we can discuss about our dealings and everything that's going on at Celtic, we're not too bad. We're sitting not too bad if you compare it to the dark side of Glasgow.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You've got to think, man. It could be the fact that you're being asked to go to football matches with Warburton's loaf packets tied to your head. I mean, there is a lot. There's a lot of worse ways, I suppose, to go to a football match, mate.
I know. Somebody said to me a while ago that the banter years are back, and I was like,
yeah,
they're not truly left. They
I know.
They went into hibernation for one season.
Aye.
Way back, so
100%. But thanks very much, Sean, for coming on, mate. Cheers again, pal.
Appreciate it, mate.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you all again. Hail, hail.
Sets up Larson here. Larson. Oh, he's in! Henrik Larsson! That is sensational! for Henrik Larsson, and Rodgers! His first goal for Celtic! Here is Shunsuke Nakamura! Exquisite!